this is just gonna be like an update video of what I've been reading, what I'm currently reading, things that I have to read. There has been a lot of reading going on in my life recently, but almost it's like overwhelming because a lot of this I have to read for a class that I'm doing. And recently I've been trying to get my physical TBR down and read the books I already own. And it was like kind of going well, and then maybe I did buy like 3 books. So I want to be reading the books I own to be getting my TBR down, but I can't be doing that because I also have to be reading school books. But it's fine. It's fine. So I'll start with talking about some books that I read for fun recently. But I read The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy, and this is number 87 in the Little Penguin Black Classic series, and it does also include the short story 3 Deaths, so I read both of them. And I've read Childhood, Boyhood, Youth, Anna Karenina, and A War and Peace from Leo Tolstoy previously, so this was my first time really diving into his shorter works and seeing what his stories were like in that context. And I still really enjoyed his writing and what he did with these 2 stories. I actually I don't know if I want to say I enjoyed it more, but I almost got more out of the short story 3 Deaths at the end, which is really short. Like, I don't know if it was like 8 pages, like I don't remember. But when I read that, it really surprised me because I'm generally not a short story person. Not saying I've never enjoyed them, but if you've seen other videos from me, like short story collections usually don't work for me, and so my expectations are usually like neutral or low, if anything, going into a short story. But it really surprised me, and it gave me a lot to think about, like almost more so than The Death of Ivan Ilyich. And I enjoyed that. So I would recommend these stories. Maybe if you're intimidated by Leo Tolstoy, start with something short. I'd say just jump right in. Just go into War and Peace. And then I read My Antonia by Willa Cather. I didn't know what to expect from this one, but I ended up really enjoying it actually. Mostly that was for the writing. Specifically the writing, there's a lot of nature and landscape descriptions, as this book is really focusing on like pastoral themes, farm workers, the immigrants, I'd say specifically European immigrants, and humanizing them, specifically the girls of these families that are working on their farms, which was looked down upon. Women weren't supposed to be doing physical manual labor. But also the writing around all of the topics, it felt emotional but heartwarming, and overall just an enjoyable book. I would be interested to read more by Willa Cather. I know this is technically a part of like a trilogy or a series, but I don't really think the stories are connected. I think they just have similar themes. It's like, I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, I definitely would read other books by her. And then the next 2 books are a part of my goal to be reading really old classics, which maybe you heard me talk about in my somewhat recent video. So this book is the Babylonian Genesis. So this book includes Enuma Elish, which is the Babylonian creation myth, but it also has an introduction, and then at the end, the author, Alexander Heidel, is comparing the creation myth story to the story of Genesis. Little spoiler for later on, but I have recently read Genesis, So I saw this at Half Price Books and I was like, this is like connecting to my goals on different levels. I gotta get it. And I will say the like little essay end part where he's comparing them wasn't really what I wanted, in the sense that I was kind of bored. Maybe I should have read this, or it could have been beneficial to read this after reading Genesis, but I don't know. I'm happy that I read the creation myth part and it wasn't like totally worthless or anything. Like, you know, still getting things out of it. But yeah, that's this book. And just last night I finished reading Dao De Jing, which I think is how you pronounce that actually. The spelling is different. Which is said to be by Lao Tzu, but in this book, in the introduction and in the appendices at the end, the translator, I'm assuming it's the translator, DC Lau, is talking about how it's very likely that he wasn't the author and that this book was more like a compilation or like anthology of Taoist sayings and thought. So yeah, this is a Taoist philosophy book from about the 4th century BCE. So definitely counts towards my goal of reading old books. And I'd say I have this like older Penguin Classics edition, and like I said, there was an introduction and then 2 appendices at the end that kind of expanded more on some of the ideas the translator was talking about. I'm assuming it's a translator, it doesn't say who wrote it. But what he was talking about in the introduction. So the first one is the problem of authorship, and then the second one is the nature of the work. And there's like, you know, chronological table, glossary, blah blah blah. So I appreciated having that extra context information, because this is definitely a book that I wouldn't say I enjoyed necessarily. Like, I wasn't reading the actual text of the book and feeling much connection to it. But I think at like where I exist in time, that makes sense. And where I am, like, not saying I didn't get anything out of this or that people can't get something out of this. I just think a lot of ancient literature is so different than our modern literature, and in the sense that its purpose is different, not necessarily that the themes or what they're talking about, like humanity, isn't different, but the purpose of the literature is. Like, a lot of the stuff that I've read so far, they're like religious texts or something like philosophy, which is about how to live life or explaining life, and it's not for entertainment. So you're not necessarily supposed to be enjoying it. You're just supposed to get something out of it. And that's what happened with this book. I appreciated it for sure, because I have been enjoying learning about history and different cultures a lot with this goal that I have of reading more ancient literature. So it was, you know, things were gotten, but it wasn't like, whoa. And I'm also not a philosophy reader. Like, I haven't really read any philosophy. I mean, this has made me open to trying to read more, but it is intimidating. And I'm like, I might need to start with like easier philosophy. And then, yeah, I guess here, we'll go into stuff that is related to my class. So I'm doing an independent study for English in school. If you don't know, I am an English major, but I'm also a geoscience major. I am double majoring, and I want to leave. But it's okay. This is my last semester, so we're almost done. And so my independent study, like, the topic is the Bible as literature, which I'm actually enjoying a lot and excited about. I'm not a religious person and I don't have experience reading the Bible or anything. So to me, it is helpful to understanding like such an important, influential piece of literature, because you can look at it as a piece of literature as well. And also, there are so many biblical references in literature. That was what first drew me to this topic, was that I wanted to understand the whole of literature better, and understanding at least some of the Bible would help with that. So like I said, I have read Genesis. I have the King James Version of the Bible in the Oxford World Classics edition. It's very big. And of course, I'm using my cat bookmark where it's cuddling a teddy bear. I thought that fit. So yeah, for the class, technically the only thing that was officially on my reading list from the Bible was Genesis. I will be reading some parts of it later on. I don't know exactly yet, but even after the class is done, I'm planning to at least read the 5 books of Moses, or also known as the Torah. And then, I don't know, I really don't think I'm just gonna read straight through the Bible. So I'm gonna then pick out, I don't know, books that seem important and read them, and then probably also parts of the New Testament. So kind of crazy to be like, hey guys, I'm just reading the Bible basically for fun, but I am, and it is actually interesting. So I mean, hey guys, have you tried reading the Bible? Yeah. And then I also had to reading Genesis by Marilynne Robinson, which is like a literary criticism and analysis of Genesis, but I would like to say Marilynne Robinson is Christian from what I saw. I did not enjoy this book personally, like overall. Like I think some of it was helpful to me, some of her points or opinions or things that she was talking about, but overall the writing style was hard for me to grasp onto. It was hard to understand sometimes where she was going with her points, and there was no structure to this book at all. Like there aren't chapters, she just like keeps going, and I'm like, where are we going? I'm not sure. Maybe this was meant for a smarter person than me, because I don't know. But yeah, I did have a meeting with my professor, and I was kind of bringing up some of my thoughts or like things that I felt like I didn't like that she was saying in the book, and she offered me kind of a different perspective of what Marilynne Robinson was trying to say, and I was like, okay, I get what you're saying, that makes sense, but did that make me enjoy the book more? Not really. So sorry. Sorry to her. And then next for that class, I have to read Paradise Lost by John Milton, which I'm excited about because this book was already on my TBR, but I'm very intimidated by, and that's all I'm gonna say. I haven't started it really yet. I read some of the introduction, and I have this edition that's edited by David Scott Caston, which is like, it says Hackett, it's like the Hackett edition. Yeah, Hackett Publishing Company. And I did already have a Penguin Classic edition of Paradise Lost, but this one, it had a pretty long introduction and it has notes on the page, which I'm like, I need that. I need you to be like, this is what's happening. This is what this means. So that's good. And then I'm also going to be reading Eternally Eve by Anne Lapidus Lerner. So just talking about images of Eve through different pieces of literature. That's probably interesting. And then later on in the semester, I do have to read The Red Tent for that class. So there's the Bible. Okay. And then, I don't know, I should start reading it this weekend, but this is unrelated, but it's still a school book. I was able to pick this book out to read, but it is As Long as Grass Grows, The Indigenous Fight for Environmental Justice From Colonization to Standing Rock by Dina Gilio-Whitaker. So yeah, I have to do like a book report, and it was just like an environmental themed book, and this was a book I had already heard of before. Like, it was on my Goodreads, and I was like, it's pretty short, so this would probably be a good book to pick for that. So I'm happy to be reading this book, but the motivation to read it is not there because it's for school. You know, when it's for school, then the motivation immediately leaves my body, and it doesn't exist. It actually doesn't. Yeah, it's just like, it wasn't even in my body to begin with. I don't think motivation was ever there. Okay. I did say at the beginning of the video that at some point I got 3 new books. One of them was this. Sorry to talk about that. But yeah, there's a new bookstore that opened up around where I live, and I was like, I have to go. How could I not? So, you know, that's where the mistake was, I guess. But yeah, I already read one of them, so that's good. And I was very excited about all of the books that I got. So the other book that I picked up was the Quran. And this is also in the Oxford World Classics edition. So I was like, look, my religious texts are matching. Love that. And this is a new translation by M.A.S. Abdel Halim. So yeah, I kind of got this because I'm reading parts of the Bible, and I thought it would really be interesting as a comparison to the Bible, because there are similarities, but also just to learn more about religion in other cultures, because like I said, not religious myself. But yeah, I think this would be really interesting to read as a comparison. Probably I want to read this soon, but like realistically with school, it might have to be after the semester when I read this. But this edition seems pretty nice because there's an introduction that has a lot of topics in it. So I think the introduction will really help with the historical context and all of the background information that I do not have. So that would be good. So there's that. Like, you kind of know you're a nerd when you're like, this is what I read for fun. And that's okay, because I'm having a good time. And then I also got Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte in this edition, this older Oxford World Classics edition. And I like that she's knitting, except the knitting looks kind of weird as a knitter, because I do know how to knit, and I'm like, why is that on both sides? Anyways, but yeah, so I did get Jane Eyre because I am wanting to read from all 3 of the Bronte sisters. So far, I've only read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and I do have The Tenant of Wildfell Hall already on my TBR by Anne Bronte. So now I have the means to read from all 3 of the Bronte sisters, which I'm looking forward to. But again, is that gonna happen within the next couple months? Probably not, because I'm busy. Ugh. And then this also, I got this a little bit before, but technically it's like still a new book. But this I got from Half Price Books, and my dad bought it for me, so thanks. Oh yeah, I got at the same time as I got the Babylonian Genesis, but that is Lies and Sorcery by, I don't know if you pronounce it Elsa, because she's like Italian. I don't know how the Italians pronounce that, but Elsa Morante, which is a huge book. I don't know if you can tell, it's like 800 pages. But I had seen this book around. I don't know if I've actually seen or heard anyone's thoughts on it. Like, I don't know if anyone's read it, but I've seen the book. And I was like, an 800-page book? Like an epic? Because it's compared to Tolstoy. And it's a generational novel. I don't know. Seemed like I needed that. And, I'm planning to read it this year at some point. So, I don't know. I'm excited about it, but I don't really know. Like, I haven't heard anyone talking about it. So, I don't know if it's gonna happen. Because, like I said, there's a lot going on. But I do also kind of want to read The Stone Door by Leonore Carrington soon. It's very short. But I also don't want to rush this or like read it at a time where I feel like stressed or like there's other stuff going on, because I've read The Hearing Trumpet and The Complete Stories of Leonore Carrington and really enjoyed her writing and her surrealism, and I feel like she could be, or kind of almost is already, I don't know, a favorite author. And so I want to give this like the attention it deserves. And I also want to read it, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it's the right time. And I also haven't heard anyone talk about this specific book. I feel like on Goodreads it said it had like 300 or like 500 ratings. So not that many people reading this, but maybe soon I'll get to this, I'm not sure. So I don't really have anything else to say. I think, I don't know. I'm excited about reading, but like I said, kind of stressed at the same time. So I would love to hear any recommendations that anyone has based on anything I said in this video. I guess specifically like ancient literature or philosophy, or I don't know, anything, like whatever. Just tell me anything you want, I don't care. Oh, I forgot. I'm also reading The Woman in White, but I'm reading that as an audiobook, so that's probably why I forgot about it. But I am reading that as well. And that's like the oldest book that I've had on my physical TBR, so that's good. It's entertaining. He's like the first narrator, because it shifts narrators throughout the book. I just got through the part with the first narrator. He was dramatic. He was like in love and really dramatic about it, and I was like, I mean, yeah, I guess. So I am enjoying that, but yeah. Okay, bye.